Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast, My Blurred Opinion. I hope you're all doing well. And this is probably going to spoil it, but I'm recording all these intros in a row, so it's raining again this week. But these are recorded on the same day, these intros. There's your fourth wall broken. A lot of times I do these intros afterwards, so yeah. Cause I like to when I'm talking to the person, I like to just jump into the conversation. I don't like to do a whole bunch of other shit. I don't want to waste their time. I just want to talk and just go from there, because a lot of times we're already talking before the show or before the the podcast actually starts to record. So I don't want to just be like, hey, hold your hat, wait for the music, and then let me talk, and then you go. Nah, we're not doing that. So you may hear a few of these in a row that have rain behind them. Just know they're all recorded right after each other. All right, guys, let's get into this wonderful guest. All right, everybody, we are back here. Dark outside, snow's starting to clear up finally, but still cold out. But yeah, we have another great guest here. Someone I've been wanting to kind of finally get in touch with. She's very sweet, and she has a story, and that's kind of all that matters. It just, people, as I said to her off air, just having a story and just giving them a space to just be themselves. And, it's something I wish I had when I was a child, because there's a lot of times you're seeking for a purpose. You're seeking to get your voice out there, to be heard, and seeking for somewhere to fit in. No matter what your issue is, it doesn't have to be mine or hers, but just having a place to just kind of sometimes you just need a place to unravel. You need a place to just get your shit off your chest, and just to feel emotion and just let it out. And sometimes you just have a story just to let the people know that this shit happens and this is real life and whatnot. So yeah, would you like to introduce yourself and obviously tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course. Thank you, Timothy, for the beautiful introduction. And I just couldn't feel more grateful, and it's such divine time to have this, this time with you. And, like you said, just a place to express and connect and share my story and share what's both on our hearts at the moment. So in that case, my name is Mercedes, and my title, I guess you can call it, I created myself as a geriatric kinesiologist and or physiotherapist, depends where in the world you are. Basically the same thing, but I'm a master of movement in a short summary. I work primarily with the elderly, and my journey all started with my grandfather, who was there for me when I was pretty much born. My story starts in the womb, and my mother was pretty sick with me when she was pregnant. So most of her term was in bed, and my grandfather, her father, was there for my mom. And my mom was so ill when I was born. I was born premature, and my grandfather basically, he stepped in. She couldn't breastfeed me. She couldn't nurse me. She was really sick after. And as an infant, I mean, you really feel, I've done hypnotherapy. I've been able, thankfully, to tap back into those emotions, but those were really hard times to feel the fear, the anxiety, the abandonment. Am I going to see my mother again? Am I going to survive? And it's really hard to, explain to people who maybe haven't done hypnotherapy, just in general, because, we have all different thoughts, and that's totally fine. My experience was so powerful that it really changed the way that I see the world. I understand my anxiety now, and I do have hard times. There's moments where I feel fear of abandonment or fear that I can't, I won't survive on my own, or it's overwhelming. But it all goes back to that experience in the womb and post-birth. And my grandfather was he was a big guy. He had big hands as a gardener, and played a musician, so he had a little belly at the time when I was born, and he would just hold me. And my mom would say he just looked like Coco the gorilla and her little baby. So for me, I have a picture of him on my desk right now. It just reminds me of this beautiful, this love that we that we do have, and have, tap into that, use real emotional fit.
Yeah.
All that to say is that journey has led me to what I'm doing now. I've gone through a few iterations of my work, but ultimately, at the end of the day, what I'm doing now is really having a passion to help our older community continue to move. Because I do believe, aside from my studies, just witnessing my grandfather age and seeing the way that he continued his walking routine 3 times a day, every day. And, up until like the last days of his life, he was dragging his oxygen machine around, would not give up his walking.
Yeah.
And for me, that was just such a beautiful experience. And so taking my education as a kinesiologist, exercise trainer, physical therapist, and applying it to the community now, and teaching people and their caregivers, older adults and their caregivers, just how the simplest movement can really, really go the distance, essentially.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's good that you've seen things from that perspective, because when I see people that are, I just interviewed somebody who actually I now work with, but she, I first saw her and I didn't know what condition she has. I found out she has a cerebral palsy, and it affects her movement, her, being able to walk and whatnot. But she has this really noticeable walk. But every time I saw her, I was just like in awe of her, because it's like, every step is like a struggle. But like I never felt, I felt bad to some degree for sure, but I also knew that she's just this strong person, and she just is not going to, give up her independence. She's just going to be who she is. And, I'm sure maybe, again, I don't know, but even I have the same moments where I have shame and certain things where I'm like, oh man, I hope people aren't judging. But then there's a point where you just turn that off and you just go, what, fuck it. Like, this is my life. I can't change. I'm not going to. And when I see people doing that, and they just, it's all inspiring to just watch something, even if they're hurting themselves at times. I'm sure that probably wasn't the greatest for your grandfather, but to watch someone just push through the pain and just go, nope, I'm not giving this up. Like, I made it this far, screw it. This is my life. And like I said, it's always good when someone can see it from your perspective and just not judge and just go like, yeah, this is great. This is beautiful.
Absolutely. And I think that something I learned really early on growing up with my grandfather was that he was blind in his left eye, so it was discolored. Mm-hmm. So for me, as a child, I didn't understand the difference. And then as I got older, I would just notice how people interacted with him, out in the grocery store. They'd be a little off put, or they'd give us a look, and then I started to just kind of get a little upset. But like, hey, he is a human. Yes, I get it. I don't see it differently. But for me, that's like, I ended up being in disability advocate as well. And for me, I still do my best to express. Actually, I take that back. I don't tell people anything, but for me, I see the world differently because of that, and I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah.
I worked in a center in my undergraduate program where we were actually working with members of the community as a student service learning program. So I learned how to work with a client with a disability. And I'll never forget, one of my first clients was, he had cerebral palsy as well, and he was in a motorized chair, and he had just so much passion and energy to keep moving. We weren't able to do a lot, but he would come in every day with a big smile on his face, and we kept in touch after I graduated, and he was just always so grateful for those moments. And for me, it's just weird. I am so in awe of the strength and the dedication and the commitment that I've experienced with this community of, I'm not giving up. I am strong. I am resilient. I'm a human. And like the lady that you were speaking about, is that it's just so awe-inspiring to see the determination. I don't know how to put it in words, but it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and you're a part of his story. Like, you're one of the people he interacted with that maybe went above and beyond, or just was good to him, and that means a lot. Like, because I remember every one of those people, even people that I've met for 5 seconds that were just like, oh my God, I remember this woman. I don't know if I ever talked about it on here, but I remember being in an Olive Garden with my mother, and I was in a really bad place mentally. I was feeling really low about myself. And this is a time where I was wearing a lot of hats and stuff. And it used to be a thing for protection of the light. And then it just kind of became like a thing for just how I dress, just like a status and whatever. And I'm sitting there and my meal wrapping up, and this older woman just comes up to me and she goes, "I just want to let you know that you're a handsome young man. You don't need to wear hats." And it was just like, it hit me, because I'm just like, one, I needed that. Not necessarily just to say I was handsome, but it was just a nice interaction. It was someone who was just kind to me for no reason. I've never seen this person ever in my life again. And she just came in to just give me some little solace, some grace, and just give me a little bit of kindness for 2 seconds. And it's like, I don't know her name, but I remember her. And I have brain fog, and there's things I forget in the moment. But like, I'll never forget people like her, because she was good to me when she didn't have to be. She didn't judge from afar. She didn't go, "Well, you're handsome for a visually impaired person," or whatever. She didn't make any other statement. And it was just nice. And so for you, I'm sure you meant a lot to that person, regardless of how long your relationship lasted. You're a part of their story as a person that just treated them the way they always wanted to be treated and deserved to be treated.
Yeah, I am grateful for that, and I think that it's so cool to hear, the story you just shared about someone. Just a little bit of kindness really does go a long way. And personally, I feel like I think just growing up and going into the workforce and really experiencing life outside of the bubble that you grew up in. And I moved to Europe last year, totally different experience from living in California all your life, and it was awesome. But at the same time, I had so many moments of like, whoa, this is a real world. Like, I'm not in the comfort of my childhood home. I don't have my family around. I'm just close to them. Like, if I'm ever in distress, I know I have my safety nest, right? And being in, 9 hours away in a totally different continent really shook up a lot of my life. And I had a lot of snow globe moments where everything just is like, feels like it's turning around and it's all settling slowly. But feeling like, what's the one thing that I can connect to, and finding that groundedness is like just someone looking on. I've noticed even more how much we are so disconnected with each other everywhere. Going to the grocery store, walking. I walk my dogs every day, and it's so difficult to just make eye contact and smile.
Yeah.
And it's like, I used to, when I was an undergraduate, I would love to do that. I would just, make these little interactions, talk to people on the street. But for me, I'm always gravitated. I find myself with an elder somewhere in my day. And those things perk you up. But what I guess what I'm trying to say is that we really, perhaps as humanity, are losing touch with that kindness, with those little moments of interaction. And for you and I, who are, people who are in more of this amazing community, and a special population of elders and disabilities, and we again have we have a unique differentiation there because we are in it, we are involved. But I guess my message here is that how can we spread that? How can we encourage other people who maybe are not used to it, or haven't been immersed, to just be kind to each other, to smile, to be open-minded to different opinions, to be open-minded to hear and to listen.
Yeah, I mean, I have this weird, and it's kind of funny, kind of not, but I have this little battle I have with my 91-year-old grandma. She's a great person. She's very independent. Like, she drives. She does a lot of things that most people don't. She's very healthier than most people I know. And but she grew up in an age and, a time where just she had to be super independent. And she's gotten to a point now where she's just like, you know what, like, if I cut somebody off at the grocery store, like, screw it, I've earned this, and which I don't agree with. But I'm like, Grandma, I love you. Mm-hmm. I do. But that person has a walker. You should not cut them off just because they're younger than you. They're still worse off health-wise, and it's still about being respectful. Mm-hmm. And she thinks sometimes I go overboard with it. But for me, and as a person with a vision problem who is constantly trying to dodge in and out of people and trying to get out of people's way, and because people don't seem to care, the battle that I have is that when I go to try to tell her these things, it's also hard to have an example, because when I look around the entire grocery store, I'm one of maybe 2 or 3 of us that's actually being polite and is actually caring about the entire community and caring about, everybody doing the right thing and letting people go through and just being just generous. And so when I tell her these things, it's like, shit, like who do I, other than me, like I don't see many people going, excuse me, sorry, thank you. And it's frustrating because you're right. Like being kind is so nice. And, just going back to even what we were talking about earlier, like when you have these interactions with people and even if it's the lady at the counter, and if you can feel their energy and their vibes and just how their aura, how kind they are and what they give off. And it's very infectious. And you're like, man, I love being around you and I don't even know you. I might never see you again, but you brought my day up. You pepped me up. But when you're around people that are like, hey, good morning, or just get out of my way, you're like, ugh, like this feels awful. Like I don't want to be around you. There's people in my life that I've had to cut off because I'm like, look, I care about you. I care about what you're doing, but you're dragging me down because you're one of these people that just likes to go, yeah, I'm in quicksand. I'm just going to lay here. It's like, well, here's the stick. And you're like, nah, I'm going to swim. It's like, you can't swim. You're just going to drown. Nah. And it's like, you just keep doing this to yourself. And I'm like, I can't have you in my life. I root for you over here, but you're not for me because you're just so negative and you just keep making the same mistakes and you don't want to learn. And, kind of not to get too far off the path, but it's like, yeah, it's just people with good energy and people who are so kind when you meet them, it's great because it makes your life better. And it even if it's small, little, tiny, minute little moments, it helps. And it's sad that because there's so many people out here that are just hurting physically, mentally, whatever. And it's like, man, I get it. I really do. But you still have to dig down deep and still try to be a good person and try to just give back and do what you can. And in the small moments, it's like, when somebody has like a charity and they're like, look, if you can only give $1, give $1. Like if you can only give $1 worth of energy, $1 worth of kindness, do that. You don't have to be overly smiley and just affectionate and just like, yay. But if you can just pull a little out and just say, hey, hold the door for that old lady. Like that's one thing, boom, you did a kindness for the day. You don't even have to hold the door for every woman that walks by. Just hold the door for that one elderly woman that just went through who's got a walker. Like, and again, because I have had days where I feel evil and I've hated anyone who was living a good life or who had love and happiness. I internally hated and wanted their life to go bad because I hated myself. And so I get it when you're in a place where you just don't care and you just want to be selfish. I get it. We all are selfish in our own right at times. But, there's also a time to just like, hey, man, like, Jesus, some things are just clearly right and just do that. Like, screw not to be hokey and corny, but like at some point you just, like, for me, I don't give a shit. Maybe it's the eyes thing. I don't know. But I've never cared about what someone looks like. I just go, okay, yeah, I can tell you're black or I can tell you're a woman or what. But end of the day, like, I'm just going to treat you the same. But if you're going to give me shitty vibes, shitty energy, I'm going to just give it back to you. But if you're a good person, I'm just like, hey, like, I'm not going to sit there and at the woman at, me and the woman at the deli counter were talking about the other day. She's like, you're so patient. I'm like, because I understand you have a job to do and I'm not going to sit here and rush you because that's just going to make your job worse. I'm not, we don't have to be friends. We don't have to be lovers or whatever, family for me to go, oh, you know what? I need, I should have to just make this woman's day a little easier. Why not? Because it'd be nice. Maybe someday she'll pay it back. Maybe the shoe will be on the other foot. And maybe she'll be counting on me to do something for her. And maybe she'll go, oh, you know what? I remember him when he was buying, Swiss cheese. I'm just gonna be nice to him.
Of course, the kindness carries on. I think that it's such a valid and excellent point you bring up because I think for me, I feel the way that society has gone, humanity is going in such rush place, and for me, I'm a very patient person as well. And that's like, I think contributed to my upbringing and my own traumatic experiences and, living with my grandfather and the elderly community is just patience is truly such a beautiful virtue. And it doesn't come easy. It doesn't come naturally for a lot of people. But to your point, what do we gain by being mean to someone, what do we gain? Yeah, sure, I've had my moments. I'll speak for myself. I've had my moments where I'm grumpy or I'm crabby or I'm in a rush and I'm like, oh, this is taking forever. But to your point, it's not really their fault. Maybe if they're like lollygagging and I see it, okay, that's a different story. But if they're overwhelmed and they're doing their best that they can, I think, where is it that we've lost touch with the understanding? Why is it that we have to be so cruel? Why is it that we don't have manners to wait and open the door? What about just a simple smile? I think that for me, again, that goes back to the way that I see the world. And I feel like I've kind of had moments where I've tapped out of it, and it makes me sad because I'm like, this isn't who I am. That was more of who I am. Why is it that I've kind of lost that? Is it because I've moved? Is it because there's different circumstances that I'm finding myself, I'm evolving, I'm doing this new aspect of my work, and I'm in a country where I don't speak the language. And that's it's intimidating, like, how am I going to survive, right? So all these fears that have popped up, but at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, it's like, was I kind today? Was I kind to them, or was I kind to myself? Because it's super hard to be kind to yourself. We all
oh yeah,
we all know that. In a cyclical cycle of, okay, well, if I'm not kind to myself, then it's very hard to be kind to other people. And this is just me being vulnerable. It's like, I love what I do with my work, and because I've had moments of, not having enough, I'm not saying enough, but like not, getting back, launching off the floor again, and not having clients coming through, or, it can be disappointing. It can be really like a feeling of desperation. But taking moments to be like, hey, you know what, Mercedes, we just launched this. You have to give yourself some time and remember that it's all going to happen in its purpose and its divine timing, and to be gentle. Because at the end of the day, you love what you do. You know that it matters to you. I know that I'm doing a good thing for the world. And while I might not have the popularity that I want or the clients that I want, et cetera, I'm still here, and I'm still committed, and I'm passionate. And I know that the right people will come at the right time. So, but to your point, expanding that kindness to others and to yourself. Yeah. No, I totally get it. That's why I've been trying to do more like audio only podcasts in California, because it's the same when I'm in Europe. I'm like, okay, we have to do things on Zoom.
Yeah. I put it on record, but it doesn't matter. I just wanted to make sure, because it was throwing me off, because I'm like, oh shit. But no, sure. I definitely appreciate what you're saying, because like I said, it's I think what people don't understand is like how much some of these things trickle down, especially from the top. It's like when you go, I started working for this new company, and the CEO, the way she is, it's like, oh yeah, if you're just a terrible person, like, and you just accept certain ways and whatnot, and you have the power to change it, and you allow it to happen. This is how it's all, it's good. Who am I at the bottom? Now, mind you, this is not happening. This was happening at my former employer, but it was like stepping into this. It was like, holy hell, this is a totally different experience for me. You actually care about people with disabilities, and you hire us, and 51% of us are part of this, are disabled. And it's a free, open space where people can be themselves. And it's like, this is what we need. And it's like I said, regardless, whether you're in a grocery store, wherever, your household, like if you set certain standards and you act a certain way. Because like another thing is like, people can combat you with like, well, why should I do it? No one else is. It's like, but that's not the point. Like, be yourself, be original, be who you want to be. Don't let anyone dictate that. But also, just because other people want to act a certain way doesn't mean you need to change and acquiesce them and do the same thing they are, because again, you're not being original, and two, you're just doing whatever. You're being a follower. And, because I've had these conversations even with my grandma, like silly things, but it's like, no, grandma, like you still should be a better person. You should still respect other people, regardless if they're above you in age or not, or healthier than you or not, or whatever. And that goes to anybody. Like, just be who you want to be, and just treat people right, and leave all the other shit. If someone gives you an attitude and they don't like you because you're something else or whatever, that doesn't mean you change. And you don't have to be friends with these people. I mean, like 95% of the people, 99% of the people you interact on a daily basis are probably people that are never going to be consistently in your life. Even people you work with, you probably don't even like half of them, or they're just, people acquaintances. They're not people that and some of them are, I'm sure, but a lot of people you deal with on a daily basis, minus your family, like they're not people you love or, you actually invite into your life. So, you just, you deal with them in small doses, and that's it. And just like I said, just treat people the way you want to be treated. And if you want to be treated like shit, then I guess go ahead. But if you really want to be respected and loved, then give people love and respect. And even if people frown at you and give you certain, things, looks and grunts and whatever, you're still, because at some point people are going to just gravitate towards you and they're going to go, wow, like, why are you, dancing around here and floating, and not just the way I used it earlier, but like just you're kind of high above everybody because you're not allowing the negativity and then the smog to just infest you and pollute your body. Like that's one of the things I've been really key on lately is just cleansing my like mental bubble of just all negativity, getting rid of all of it because I have enough negativity in my head and I don't want negative people in my life. I don't want just negative situations, things that, clutter my life or just clutter, literal clutter, like in my apartment or whatever. I want to cleanse all of it because I want to be the best person I can be. And I don't want anyone to dictate whether or not I have a good day or a bad day because my mind goes in different places on its own. So I have enough, uphill battle to climb. I don't want anyone else making that, changing that for me. So it's like, if you just work on, yourself constantly and never feel like you're ever going to be perfect, because you won't, but try to get to it as close as possible. Just keep working and evolving and progressing and being the individual you always wanted to be or never thought you could be. Nothing else could really affect you. It's just, like I said, there's a lot of things that used to affect me that now it's like, and some things could affect people and really ruin their lives. And to me, it just bounces off of me. Not that I'm necessarily bulletproof, but there are things that I just go, yeah, that sucks. But you know what? I'm alive. I'm here. Like I'm who I am now, and that's not going to change. So, and like I said, that again, it trickles down. So it's, if people see that with you, they go, wow, look at the person with the vision problem and the mental health problems and the chronic pain and the person who's a victim of this and went through all this. They can do it. Why can't I? And if that's what I leave some people, even if it's one person, it's good enough. Even for someone like you who has been through stuff, like if it helps you, great. Just like some of your stuff will help me. It's just, we don't have to have the same story to fully understand each other. We just have empathy and care. An open mind, and you'll start to understand that a lot of this stuff is very connected and very similar in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. I think you make so many amazing, like really, really deep points there. And I guess something that's coming up for me is that what you were just saying, like, do you feel that, I think that a lot of, I guess, my experience the last few years and kind of working through my trauma and understanding things that have happened to me that I didn't really realize. And something else that is kind of a big part of who I am is I see the world in a different way, and I appreciate, and I'm so great. I have like a lot of gratitude for everything. I used to do like a gratitude practice. It's like still one of my favorite questions, is because I've been through a lot of loss. I'm only in my early 30s, but I can't even tell you how many funerals I've been to, and it's a weird thing. I've talked to people and they're like, "Oh, I've never been to a funeral, or I've never experienced a close death," and for me, I just never knew that was different.
Yeah.
But again, it goes back to, like, for me, I've almost I almost died myself as an infant. My mom, like feeling that emotion, and then my grandfather, I grew up, super attached to him. And when his moment came, I took care of him pretty much all throughout my life. He died when I was 25. And that, I thought that loss was going to be, I was scared for pretty much like 20, 25 years of losing him. And when that moment came, it was just, I was there with him, and I said, it's okay. I love you, and I know that you're not totally going to be gone. Um, and having this loss, and I tragically lost my brother-in-law 2 years ago, and that was so unexpected. And then I've had other grandparents pass away, and I just don't think that experience of loss ever really goes away. And, some people have not really experienced the grief of a loss, don't understand it. But this is kind of all circling back to your point, is that we really do all have this unique high, whether it's trauma, whether it's, trauma from a loss, or trauma from an accident, trauma from something that happened in childhood or as an adult. Whatever the traumatic experience is, there's this layer of empathy that we can still connect, whether we share it openly or it takes time. Which I guess I lost my question, but I think it was something around like, what's the basis of our connection to each other, right? We can connect when we're vulnerable, and we can have those different outlooks. How do we, how can we really set the stage of, I guess, like experiencing constriction because someone has this traumatic experience of, being abused as a child. They haven't, or don't know perhaps how to, deal with it, right?
Yeah.
So then we mask it with things, and then there's someone else who's had therapy, and they're like, okay, I kind of understand it now, and I can ease into it, but it's still there. I think, finding that empathy.
Yeah, I mean, and to kind of go over all you said is just, and this is something I've been saying lately, is just, like what you said about masking it. There's a lot of times where we have all these issues and we go through our lives, like I told you off air, that I just started liking myself. I just started really coming to terms with, you're not a bad person. Like, no matter how much your head, the part of your brain that says you're this and you're that, you actually are a great person and you deserve the things you're getting and so on. But for a long time, there was just this closet door full of my problems that I would never address until the door wouldn't close anymore. And then all my problems fell out all over me. And it was like, oh shit, I got to go to therapy. Oh shit, I got to get on antidepressants. Oh shit, I have to address my issues with my father, my issues with being molested, all this shit. Oh, you have to accept yourself. You have to love the fact you have an eye problem. You're going to realize that you're never going to be normal and all these things. And then, you realize, like, because some people really mean well, and they'll say things like, oh, it's going to get better, and, don't worry, time heals all wounds, and all these cute things. And some of it's, there's some truth to it. But for people like us who have been through a lot of shit, some of this stuff doesn't fully heal. Yeah, there's going to be the scars there that's always going to remind you what that's from. I have physical scars that are from procedures I've had. I had my gallbladder taken out, and feeding tubes jammed in me and whatnot. I know what they're from. And I also know what some of these other wounds are from. And, unfortunately, I lost my best friend. She died of heart failure. But she was also a cancer survivor. So she was always playing with death. But, I've had to mourn most of my sight. I've had to mourn relationships, people betrayal, people who I love, it just disappeared on me. And then, of course, there's like I said, with my best friend and other people have just died and leave you. And but for me, like with her specifically, I told her, before she died, that I would do my best to try to make a good life for both of us. I will wear her as like she's also another badge of honor, a person that, just I feel is with me and someone I try to care about making proud. Amongst other people in my life, but she's one of the ones that isn't here, and but at the same time, like I said, I don't ever want to just act like this shit is all hunky dory and everything's great. No, because as you were talking about earlier, you just even off mic, or off the recording, it's just this stuff still comes back to haunt you every so often. That dark cloud is still always hovering. It's just sometimes it's a little further away. And you can feel it when it starts to get close. It's just like a magnet. It starts to pull you in, and you feel the pain. You feel everything. And there are moments, like a lot of this stuff gets better. And again, we deal with them easier now. They come and go, and we're easier to deflect it. And some days we take them on and just say, all right, you know what? Go ahead. I want to cry today. Okay, I want to punch a pillow, or I want to feel today. But there are a lot of days that we don't appreciate either, that we do deflect and we do fight them off. And And it's not just not acknowledging it. It's just we can't deal with it because we're working. We're whatever. We're doing something important that we can't cry, or we can't allow our emotions to take over. But sometimes you just curl up on a couch, and, I have my cat, and sometimes I'll just sit here and I'll feel, and I'll just allow my emotions to take over. But I also know that this isn't going to cause me to end my life. This isn't going to cause me to do stupid things or go back to old behaviors, because that's how I used to do things. But now I'm a better person. I'm evolved. But at the same time, I also recognize that I'm never going to 100% heal. And I just have to be okay with that. It's the same thing how I've been able to accept the fact that I'm just legally blind. My eyes fluctuate on a daily basis. I have chronic pain off and on. You never know if it's going to be my knee, it's going to be my back, it's going to be my neck. I never know. But I've been okay with that. So I should be able to deal with my mental shit. My mental stuff is the stuff I really struggle with because, I like to talk. I like to be positive. I like to help people. But there are days I don't even want to help myself. So how can I help other people? And, but it's real. And that's why I do it, because I'd rather be real. I'd rather give you all of me than none of me. Or, because I know there's a lot of people that are hanging on right now and they're barely making it, regardless of whatever type of, that means, whether it's financial or whatever. They're hanging on, and they just need somebody to look up to, somebody that just says something that triggers them and goes, you know what, I feel that. Now I do want to live, even if for another half hour. And so, for someone like you, I don't have a full-fledged answer, but it's for me, it's just, you just keep going on, because if you end it now, like, you don't know what is the end of this. And you keep fighting and you keep doing things, and you've had people instill you with stuff, like your grandpa. He gave you some knowledge, and he gave you experience and love, and when you needed it. And now you can kind of carry his legacy through you, and that's kind of like what parents do. They take their kids and they're like, I want you to be me, but better. Even if they were a great person, like your grandpa was a great dad, but I'm sure he wants you to be better than he was. And whether that's possible, I don't know. That's up to you, and that's up to interpretation and what that is. But overall, like I said, you can't. I think the thing is, you just have to realize you can't run from your problems. Like, they are what they are. You just kind of have to own it. You got to wear it. But at the same time, like we said earlier, like, don't be the victim. Just be the person and just like, yeah, okay, I do have mental problems or whatever you want to say they are. I have issues, and that's cool. But that makes me Mercedes. That makes me who I am. This isn't a bad thing, and it's okay to have days where you don't like yourself. There's okay to days to be sad and whatnot, because like I said, so many people are going through worse. So many people are struggling, and you just got to be grateful for the things you do have. Like I said, I'm grateful for that I have even a little bit of vision. I'm grateful to have my own apartment. I'm grateful to feel, to walk, to hear, to whatever. I'm grateful for all the things I have, and I try not to focus on the shit that I don't, or the things that I'm, constantly struggling with it. But I do, and that's okay. Like I said, that's the great thing about us, whether you're religious or spiritual. We aren't perfect, and we're never going to be. We're far from a perfect species, and but that's all right. It's just, I think some people want to act like people are perfect, and that we need to be. And it's like, there is no perfect society. There is no perfect, inclusion or whatever. We can try to get as close to it as possible, but at the end of the day, we just have to try to be the best version of us, knowing that it's super flawed.
Absolutely. Beautiful, actually. I really like that. Trying to be the best version of ourselves, and knowing that we are super flawed.
Yeah.
It's really powerful.
Thank you.
It's really powerful. That one stuck.
No, I mean, every day.
I think that you really...
Go ahead. No, I was just gonna say real quickly, just every day, I internalize things, and I make more of situations that I shouldn't, and my anxiety kicks in over dumb shit. I had not a panic attack, but I had, like, my anxiety went up the other day because someone, rerouted my package to the wrong address. It's like, and my anxiety is just like, oh my God, I'm never gonna get this package. What am I gonna do? It's a $200 boots. Oh my God. And then within that crazy storm of panic, I just sent the seller saying, hey, what was my address? And he sent me my address back, and he had everything right except he had my apartment number wrong. So I had to go steal my package from another apartment door. But it was a funny story, and I solved it within, 10 minutes of the panic attack, or whatever. It wasn't necessarily a panic attack, but whatever it was, my little anxiety fit. And I solved it. But even little things like that can trigger me where it's like, oh my God, a package. And it's not a big deal because at the end of the day, I could afford to buy more if I wanted to, or I can get it rerouted again, or, whatever. Or I could do what I actually did. But it's just like every day I question, even when I do the nicest of things, I question every move I make. I'm constantly on my ass, just like, hey, what about this? And it's the typical cartoon devil and angel on each shoulder. But one's overly negative and one's overly positive, and neither of them are really right. You just got to kind of stay in the middle and kind of just say both of you shut up and poke the clouds and they disappear, poof, and you just keep going. But like I said, no matter how good of a person I can seem or how strong or whatever, I have days where I'm just like, fuck this, and I just break down. Like, it's just real life. It's not, I try not to put on any facade because it's like that's what helps people to know even the strongest of people can break down. And so it's like, no matter whatever inner struggle you have, it's like, man, I'm right there with you. I get it.
Yeah, we're all human. And it's so much easier said than done.
Yeah.
Totally.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I look at my cat and I go, God, you have it so easy. It's like you just lay there and look adorable. You shit in a box and I clean it. You don't have to buy the food.
That's good.
You don't have to pay rent. You don't even have to shower. You shower, you lick yourself. I guess that is a shower, but like, you don't have to do anything. Just be adorable and be loving towards me, and that's all I ask for. That's all. Your life is so easy. But at the same time, I look at it that he's so easy and precious, and you can hurt him very easily, and you could turn his world upside down by just being abusive or do whatever. And it's like he looks for me for, affection and love, and he feels safe. And he's kind of a scaredy cat, no pun intended, but that's what he is. He freaks out, and I don't know what happened to him before I got him, but you can tell he's scared of people. But like when we built this relationship, he looks at me like, please be here, save me, protect me. And I'm like, I got you. And all I ask in return is just to be a loving and affectionate. And it's like, so I look at someone like him who's so precious. And that's how I look at animals in general, or plant life, or just kids, or people with disabilities, the elderly, people that are just the most vulnerable and affected by these type of things, these abusive situations, and just awful how people treat each other. It's like, man, these people are the strongest people. These are the things that we need to protect, and especially elderly, because they've gotten here, they've lived a life, and now our way of repaying them is just treating them like shit and throwing them in nursing homes and taking away their service hours and all these things. And it's like, no, man, like I have a great relationship with my grandmother. I love her, and I don't agree with some of the things she believes and thinks and stuff, but I will always protect her because I understand she lived a life. I hope to make it to 91. I never thought I'd even make it this long. So, it's just, you have to have when you nearly die, like you said you did, like you have a different perspective on life. You have a different aura, a different shine to you, because you know how quickly this shit can end.
Absolutely, and what I hear, you're expressing that is that I think at the end of the day, we really, whether we've been through a traumatic experience, and I mean life itself is traumatic. I feel that we go through all these hardships and such, but what I think that we really need at the end of the day as human is just we're all seeking love, safety, and comfort. If we don't have that in our periphery, or we didn't have that growing up, or we didn't have that as a child, or even a young adult or a teenager, or something is unstable, like it doesn't matter. Even if you have had the perfect childhood, I think as a human, I feel, myself included, of course,
Sure.
It's like, because I have dogs, right? I got dogs, like just like your cat. It's such a beautiful experience to be with a pet or an animal, because they do provide that unconditional love. And I think that as humans, that's what we are seeking. We're seeking safety. We just want to be loved. We want to be held. We want to be know that everything is okay. And I think that, I guess myself is like in the moment of soul searching amid humanity of, how do we find that safety and comfort with each other? How do we cultivate that in a culture or community that that doesn't value it, doesn't pride itself. Like, I mean, I think everything's so competitive right now, and it's like ego and I'm better, and if you're not striving or if you're not making $1 million, then like you're nothing, and it's like, okay, hold on, that doesn't make me feel safe, right? So,
Yeah.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that I think at the basis, the fundamental human foundation is feeling safe, and that's what I feel can be a hard thing to come by when you've been through so much, or you don't know what safety truly feels like.
Yeah.
Then I hope that we all get there. To your point, a couple moments ago, you were saying like there are a lot of people who are struggling. Some people who we don't even see that they're struggling. They're masking it very well, or they appear to be happy. And we can show it in different ways, but how do we really tap into that safety? How do we really tap into, hey, I'm struggling, I need help, and I can't afford a therapist, or I can't afford a therapist, so the therapy isn't working, right? Like, how do we reach out, and really even just to ourselves to acknowledge, I am struggling, whether that's someone who's 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, or 90. I mean, how many older adults have depression as well? How many older adults are suicidal? Do we notice it, or like to your point, the way that I even see in my own field is we do discard older adults, and I think it's really awful. So, talking to your grandmother, asking her a story. Hey, how are you really? What kind of medicine are you taking? Are you feeling odd? What is something that you used to like to do? How do we bring that joy back? Et cetera, et cetera. Because ultimately, I think if we all saw each other's pain, could we have a happier world? Like, would there be less violence? That's my philosophical question.
No, I know, and that's the thing. But you're a dreamer. You're a person that really wants the best, and that's what's beautiful. Because not enough whether they believe it or they want that, they don't show it enough, and that's the thing. It's like you have to. That's why, like I said, another reason why I do it is just to give people hope. But I also, at the same time, don't try to just glorify the good things and just go, yeah, life's great. Like, having a disability is fucking awesome. It's like, no, there's a lot of shitty days to this. There's a lot of moments where that's why I try to be as real as possible. I mean, it's just, there's days that just aren't fun. Even take the visual stuff out of it. Take them just the mental health stuff. There's just days that suck. And no matter how far I get in this life, and no matter how great I get, and no matter how much I work out, like, I'll never have the perfect body for me, or, I don't think I'll ever love myself the way I would love to. But I'm much better, and I'm gaining more confidence, and I'm liking who I am more. But I mean, like, I'm a single guy trying to find love, legitimately trying to find love. I've done hookups and done all that shit, but at the end of the day, like, I genuinely want a real romantic relationship. And when you look out here and you see the things, it's like people treat each other awful, and everything is too much awful shit is just glorified, and too much is just put in the limelight, where you're like, ugh, like this. It makes you think like, this is how all women act, or this is all men act, and you just lose hope. And that's why everyone gets, like we were talking about earlier, just when you go through boredom and loneliness and things, because especially loneliness, you really start to go like, wow, like, I'm alone. Like, I'm never, in the dating world, like, I'm never going to find anybody. No one's going to ever accept me for my eyes or the things I think, or no one's ever going to appreciate me because I get judged all the time, and I get rejected, and I get this and I get that. And you start spinning out of control to where you don't feel like you can go on. And the more you can convince yourself of things really easily. Like, I mean, I don't know about you, but because of all the health stuff I go through, I'm a partial hypochondriac, because I can easily look up something on WebMD and go, yep, I got cancer. Now, usually cancer, I mean, I'm being, kind of facetious, but like, but there are other things. Like, I literally thought I had a detached retina 2 weeks ago because I hit myself in the eye accidentally, but I was seeing white, like little white flashes. So I was like, oh my God, I just gave myself a detached retina because I asked stupid Alexa, why am I having these white flashes? And then the first thing she brings up is that. And I'm like, oh my God. It's the last thing I need is to have another eye problem. But you would think at this point, 35 years of my life, I'd be like, this should be easy to fight off. But no, then my stupid brain starts to manifest detached retina symptoms, and I start going, oh, I 1000% have it now. And then I get an x-ray, and he says, no, we can see behind your eye, everything's good. Then the anxiety goes away, and all those random pains or all those random weird things I was feeling or sensing don't exist anymore. It's like, what is happening? Like, I literally just these like physical like feelings, these like little mirages that my brain manifests for anxiety, to add to the anxiety, just so I can feel like I have a detached retina when I didn't. It's like, and then you start to question yourself, like, what is wrong with me? How did I get here? And it's like, you just realize I've been dealing with stuff like this my whole life. And you're like, like I said, you have these weird moments with yourself. You have to like psych yourself out and go like, man, this shit goes deep. And it's crazy how it works. But like, it's also, at the end of the day, like what makes us different and makes us great people is that we're able to laugh it off. And we're able to kind of bounce back so resiliently and just go, yeah, that was funny that I thought that. It's not funny in the moment, but it's like, yeah, cool. You get a dark sense of humor and you just chuckle and go, wow, I was an idiot. And then you just move on. But you just, in the moment, you tend to take yourself apart. And in times you need that. You really do need to self-search and your soul search and, metaphorically, strip yourself naked and just go, this is your problems and all that. That's fine. But there are some days it's like, being covered in like bird seed and it's just birds just pecking at you. It's just your brain is just going, hey, what's up? You're ugly. Ah. Like, hey, your dad doesn't love you. Ah. You're just like, what? I'm literally eating oatmeal. What do you want now? Like, can you stop? I'm watching a Netflix show that has nothing to do with any of this. I'm enjoying myself. I'm eating whatever, pasta, and I'm living right now. Why are you telling me that I'm ugly? Like, what is the reason? And sometimes you can literally check yourself in the moment, and sometimes it's a nagging thing that just doesn't go away until you really have to sit down and address it. And some things you can swat away, but it's the brain is a psycho. It's you go through these psychological wars sometimes, and but like I said, I don't know for you, but for me, the older I get, the more I can be more combative and deflect and engage and battle it and win. I mean, I win the ultimate war because I'm alive, but like I said, there are days they get me. I end up with battle scars.
Of course, and I think that again, that is what I hear. And then I'm not a therapist, so I can't give like a full explanation on it. But the evolution to be able to catch those thoughts and say, hey, I'm eating a bowl of pasta. What's happening? I'm catching it and really being able to identify it. And it's hard to let it go because I myself have been there and I still struggle with thoughts as well. But the evolution of identifying, acknowledging and processing and giving yourself those moments to cry it out or feel or, again, I think we're all so unique. And while, some things like I have someone very close to me who has OCD as well. And, it's part of who she is. She has had, she's gotten help for it. And she has her tools, but she still has her days, and I still love her the same. And I do my best. I know that I can't take it away from her. I wish I could. I can't help, but I can support her through it. Sure. And she's not doing any harm to herself. And so it's like it's this evolution of she's doing her best. She comes back to herself, and then she continues on. So, just knowing that these little quirks that we have or whatever the degree is, it's part of who we are. And there is a deep reason, why we are the way that we are. But, knowing that there's support, and then there is evolution. So I think to your point, just kind of giving the listeners hope to know that, whether you can get professional support or family or friends, we're not terrible. We're not this. We're not this label. It's like this is who we are uniquely are. And finding that acceptance over time for who we are.
Yeah, and I know, if you played this life out 9 other times, it'd be 9 other different ways, and I'm probably dead in a few of them. And I'm grateful for how it turned out, for better or for worse. Like, I'm here and I'm still able to be me and be whole. And I've lost pieces of me and lost people that mattered and whatnot. But at the end of the day, I'm still here and I still have a chance to keep the tires rolling and keep this story. There's no ending to it yet. And so I think people forget that. And I get it. I mean, there's these little antics that people say, like, oh, you got to live every day like it's your last. I get it. That's easier said than done. It sounds good. And I'm not saying it's not. If you can do it, great. But I mean, it's not necessarily realistic for a lot of people. But, it's whatever keeps you going, and you hold on to whatever it is. And like I said, everything you hold on to matters, because it's getting you, like, I've said many times, like, if you're liking a show and you just finished it, but season 6 is coming out next year, well, you're like, well, I want to watch season 6. Well, like, guess what? You're going to be alive for another year. Anything can happen in a year. And that goes for anything. It doesn't have to be this big thing like, oh, the birth of my child or whatever. No, it could be anything. But you want to live. There's some part of you that's holding on. I mean, I said I was dead inside for a good while, but there's this small bit of light that was just like, hey, you should stick around. I don't know why right now, but it will be all clear eventually. But I know you want to die, and it's the easy way out. But nah, hang around just a little bit longer, and maybe something will change for you. And yeah, like I said, and I also. That's why I don't judge people, because I want to understand that perspective. I want to understand the mindset of how you get to a place of whatever, evil, good. I want to know, because I think we judge people so fast and we write people off because it's just like, oh, well, this person shut up a school and, this is an awful person. And I'm not saying what they did isn't awful, but I'm saying, how did he get there? Did he get there just he woke up one day and said, I'm going to be a school shooter? Or did he go through a lot of abuse and sexual assault and God knows what else? Or just did he watch some movie and said, I want to reenact that? I don't know. But I'm just saying, can we not write them off? It's the same thing with somebody being molested. If they're being molested by their parents and then they start watching child porn, I'm not saying that's not gross, but how do you think they got that way? You think they just got that way? They woke up, they were born and they were like, yay, I can't wait to look at this. No, they probably went through a bunch of abuse themselves. So maybe we should try to help these hurt people before they actually hurt other people and pass it on. And so it's, like I said, that's why I don't write people off, because I've been written off many times and been the underdog, and I've just been told I could never do this and never do that because my ceiling was so low to people. But it's good to just laugh it off and go, yeah, I'm still here and I'm doing better than anyone ever expected, including myself. So, and like I said, I try to learn from everything. I'll watch shit on the most evil people because I want to see how they tick. I don't want to be them. I just want to know how they get to that way, because maybe we can help people in the future so they don't become the future Hitler or whoever the hell.
Right.
But we write people off. We just write them off like they're just like if you do something, you said something in your past, you said something racist or whatever the hell it is. I'm not condoning these things, but at the end of the day, we evolve, we all change, we all become what we become. But are they just worth writing off? Yeah, if they did something so heinous, yeah, probably. But at the same time, we can't just get rid of and just, because basically we as people, we've all had evil thoughts, we've all gone through things that have made us look at ourselves in the mirror and go, oof, Jesus, I don't like this version of me. And we all can be put on trial for just thoughts then. And we all can be perceived one way or another. We're not perfect. We've all done and said things and thought things that were out of character and not like us. But does that define us? I don't think so. Because there's moments where I wasn't clear-headed. And I could go back and tell you right now, I'm glad I don't think like that. I'm glad I was able to go back in time and go, oof, thank God I'm not that version of me anymore.
Absolutely. I think that for me, the like takeaway to our beautiful conversation that we've had today is that empathy. Right? I keep going back to this empathy of finding empathy for the world, for others, and for ourselves. I think that it's hard, easier said than done, but finding the compassion, finding the empathy for ourselves in those really difficult or challenging or yucky moments, because we are definitely our worst critic. But to your point, how can we turn those moments into grateful moments, and be like, okay, I understand, but this is what it is right now. This is how I'm feeling, and I'm grateful that while I'm having this argument, or while I'm feeling this disgusted way about myself, or et cetera, or I had an awful day, what is it that I can be grateful for? How did I get here, and how can I empathize with the situation so that I can elevate,
Sure.
and bringing that light in.
Yeah. So what
I haven't. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, what are you up to today? Are you promoting anything?
Yes, I'm currently to what I express. This is my newest launch of my company. I guess you can say myself is my mission is to help others really, and that's I specialize in geriatrics in older adults, but I also work with the disability community as well. I have experience with CP, spinal bifida, CBI, all a lot of things. That's my my degree, but what I'm focusing on is just really helping people with their mobility, and those who care for them as well, teaching them how to teach the exercises to them, or even if they just need support. That's essentially what I'm doing. So I can do stretches with you virtually, or I can do an assessment of the home. I can do assessment of mobility, and I guess my mission really in life is to be there for our communities, be there for humans, and listen and help people feel good through mobility, through movement. I don't think we realize how important it is and how special it is to move until we are not able to move.
Absolutely. Do you have a website?
I do. You can find me at Mouvement. It's MOUVEMENT.info. It's Movement the French way. So you can do that, or you can find me just Mercedes Fernandez. It should pop up. But movement.info. All my information there. I have a lot of great resources. I love to write articles. I've been featured in a few websites, and I have YouTube videos as well. So home exercises are the best. We don't have to go to the gym. We don't have to leave our room. You can find all my resources there.
Awesome. Don't hang up because I want to say something to you after. But I do appreciate you coming on. I love what you're doing, and love your honesty. And, I just appreciate you, and just thank you for just being who you are.
Thank you, Timothy. I really appreciate the safe space that you create here. And it's been really nice to have this is just a really casual, laid back, beautiful ambiance that you're creating here on your show to talk about something different. You can go on podcasts all the time, and you're expressing what you do, and you're doing you can get repetitive over time, but this has been such a breath of fresh air to have this vulnerable conversation with you. I've cried a couple times.
Okay.
I'm not sure if anyone has heard it, but when we really allow ourselves to be vulnerable, to be ourselves, to really talk about things that we don't normally talk about, or it's hush hush because that's professional. It's like, at the end of the day, we are professionals, but we're also, this is the realm of humanity. These are the conversations people want to talk about, but no one talks about, because it's not like entertainment or et cetera, et cetera. So I really appreciate what you've created, and I'm really grateful to have been on the show. So thank you.
All right, buddy. So I ended the call there. Hope you enjoyed her. Just a sweet person. Just I really enjoy having these conversations, and maybe I notice it the most, but I know sometimes I repeat myself, but you never know where these conversations are going, and sometimes you have to just, share. I mean, you're talking to a new person, so you don't know what's going to come up, and some things are more applicable for certain situations and certain guests, and topics and whatnot. So, but anyway, I really enjoy, engaging in these conversations and just getting deep into them. And, hopefully people hear this and it helps them, because like I said, I'm not doing this for any other reason. It's really important for me to try to affect as many people in a positive light as possible, because like I said, there's a lot of burdens, a lot of things I carry on a daily basis, and I'm trying to keep myself going, keep this engine moving, or running, I should say, and keep this body moving so that I, can help as many people and leave a legacy behind that, motivates others to carry whatever I've done and others are done at this point in time, and grow it and make it even bigger and do more. So appreciate your time very much. I appreciate for your ears. Your listening pleasure is what I'm here for. I know I said Bullet would talk, but he's on his cat tree. He's in a little castle, so he's not going to come out and talk to you guys. I'm sorry. I'll try to get him next week. But again, I hope you're all taking care of yourself. Please, take care of your health, take care of your mental health, and anyone you care about. And hang in there. If you're struggling, please hang in there. And again, if you want to get a hold of me on Instagram and TikTok at My Blurred Opinion, I will get back to you. Just say hello, say who you are, say where you found me, and tell me what you're going through or whatever you need, and I will converse with you. I promise. But I'll see you guys later. I'll see you next week, and it's been real. Bye, guys.